Hello and welcome back. This is going to be a bit of a complicated one, so strap in is what I'm going to tell you. We're going to be going through a lot, so if you ever need to just pause and come back and take this part by part, I highly suggest you do that so you can actually absorb everything. Now, today's video feels especially important for future topics about asexuality and aromanticism. I thought I would need to come out with this video first so we can all have a concrete understanding of things that I'm going to get on to later. So that is types of attraction. And if you're like, what the hell? There's types of attraction. I thought there was just attraction, or I thought there was just like sexual attraction or just romantic attraction or just platonic attraction. No, there's so much more. I'm here to amaze you that there are many types of attraction, and the 7 types of attraction I'm getting into in this video are not even all the attractions. They're just like the main ones that most people experience in their lifetime. So there's like a lot more niche attractions, but we're gonna like hold off on that for now. It's important to note that the human experience is a very complicated one, and therefore how we experience attraction is also going to be a little bit complicated. So humans experience a range of attraction, both towards people, objects, art, nature, animals, whatever. And let's not get weird here and immediately assume that I'm talking about sexual attraction. No, we are not talking about bestiality on this channel yet. But I'm meaning attraction by being drawn to something or being in awe by something like a sunset, you know? I'm talking about what do our little human brains enjoy looking at, enjoy experiencing? What do we enjoy? What is pleasant to us? That is kind of what I mean by attraction. Honestly, I think a lot of us are actually aware of these different types of attractions that I'm going to get into, but we don't usually have a name for them or know how to describe them, or when we're talking about them, we don't pair them with a name. So a lot of these like concepts of attraction, I think you're going to be like, oh, that's actually something very familiar that I experience in my day-to-day life. You can think of these attractions kind of in the way where the Greeks had different names for love. Kind of like, you know, the whole thing of like, I love matcha lattes. And I also love my partner, but I love these things in very different ways. So maybe keep that in the back of your mind while I'm talking about this kind of stuff. So the attractions that we're getting into in no specific order are aesthetic attraction, sensual attraction, emotional attraction, platonic attraction, romantic attraction, sexual attraction, and something that many of you probably have never heard, which is Alterous attraction. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Now, you can experience a mixture of these attractions. You can experience just one of these attractions at a time towards a specific person or thing. You can experience them in a multi-dimensional way. And also for these definitions that I'm going to get more into, you can't actually easily find definitions for these attractions in like a dictionary. I don't think that they exist. You can find the words like aesthetic and stuff like that, and like sexual and platonic in a dictionary, obviously, but there's not stuff where it's like sexual attraction. Like, you're not gonna find that in a dictionary. At least I didn't when I was like researching. So I'm obtaining a lot of these definitions through online resources, through people on Reddit. I've taken them into account because those are real people. And also just from my own understanding, I've kind of written a definition that is not like the end all rule of the definition. And also, like, attraction is a very subjective experience. So obviously the definition is not going to encapsulate every single person's experience ever, but it's just helping us understand these attractions better. So please don't come at me. I hope I do this justice and don't offend anyone. It seems to be the general understanding and consensus that if you are attracted to someone, if you use that word, then it means that you're attracted to them in a like romantic and sexual way. If you're attracted to someone in one way, then you would assume, oh, you must be attracted to someone in every way. But this is not actually always the case. So I think I'm just trying to move us away from that assumption that attraction means one thing. Like, it involves actually a lot more layers to it. And just because you're attracted to someone in one way doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be attracted to them in another way that seems to be correlated to that. This will make more sense as we get on. So let's get into it. So, first on the list is aesthetic attraction. Now, you could probably guess what aesthetic attraction means, but I will say a little definition anyway. So, it's appreciating or being drawn by someone or something's appearance and enjoying looking at this thing or person. Aesthetic attraction is often compared to the feeling of looking at a sunset or a really lovely piece of art. And you can experience that same sort of feeling that you get from that by looking at a person without there being like romantic or sexual attraction present towards that person. You can look at a pretty person walking down the street and enjoy looking at them without being like, oh, I want to date them, or oh, I want to have sex with them. That is totally a possible thing that happens. And some examples of how you might experience aesthetic attraction is through maybe celebrities. So you may find a celebrity physically attractive, but you're never actually, like, you don't have desire to actually want to date them or sleep with them. Another example is someone whose personality you really hate and you don't like them, like as a person, but you do find their face or like their physical appearance very attractive. So it's like kind of contradicting, but that's just an example. It's like you can experience aesthetic attraction without being wholly attracted to that person. And another last example is like, say you find an old photo of your grandma when she's like really young, when she's like, it's like 50 years earlier, and she's like a beautiful young woman. Like, you're gonna notice how pretty she is, like how aesthetically attractive she is, but that doesn't mean that you're suddenly like attracted to your grandma. You know what I mean? I think where it gets a little bit confusing is that often aesthetic attraction is experienced along with other attractions, like romantic attraction or sexual attraction. Like, they can happen simultaneously. And because that happens for a lot of people, then people are just assuming that that's what everyone else is feeling, right? But just because this attraction is often experienced along with other attractions, it's not always the case that you can't just experience the aesthetic attraction on its own or experience it with more platonic attractions, like platonic attraction or emotional attraction. And then just making sure that I understand that when I say like when you are physically attracted to someone, that does not necessarily equate to sexually attracted. You can be physically attracted to someone, like enjoy how their body looks, enjoy how their face looks, how they dress. You can be aesthetically attracted to them, physically attracted to them, without being sexually attracted to them. Hope that makes sense. I feel like my bangs look really stupid these days, and I like keep like changing them, so don't mind that. Okay, moving on to sensual attraction. This is the desire to be close to someone physically, have sensual interaction with a specific person, such as cuddling, hand-holding, hugging, etc. Now, I actually saw an infographic while I was doing a little bit of like research for this video where they compared this feeling, sensual attraction, to the feeling of seeing a super cute fluffy dog that you get so excited about petting and like interacting with. Which, yeah, that's actually a great example of what sensual attraction feels like. Again, you're not sexually attracted to the dog. Sensual attraction, I know we often relate the word sensual or sensuality to sex because sex is can be a very sensual thing, but sensual attraction actually can be separate from sexual attraction. This one can be quite confusing because we often associate physical closeness and physical touch and that sort of affection with romantic or sexual partners only. But sensual attraction, or just like the act of being physically close with someone, can happen in ways that are not romantic or sexual, like with your friends and family members. So it's not just reserved for romantic relationships or anything, even though we've kind of been conditioned to believe that. I did do an entire little video about how physical affection is not inherently romantic in like a really old video. I will link it below if you're interested in it. So one can experience sensual attraction through really close friends that they were very comfortable and they've known a long time. So it's like a close friend you really love sitting together closely, and you like, leaning your head against their shoulder, or just like huddling to keep warm, or you just like being in each other's physical spaces. This is also, you could be like, you could experience sensual attraction through wanting to cuddle your pet, your cat, or your dog, or hold them. As I mentioned, it's like you see a cute little animal and you're like, oh, you're just so cute. Like, I could just hold you. Like, oh, you're so sweet. I just want to like pet you and stuff. You could see sensual attraction play out in like family dynamics where certain family members who grew up super touchy and affectionate, and like they grew up in a very physically affectionate household or environment, they may experience a lot of sensual attraction towards the different family members, and that's just like how they are. I think for a lot of people, especially like North America, like colonial kind of places, is that physical touch and like physical affection is not like a very like normal thing to do with family members and stuff like that. So like it's important to know it's like, okay, there's like a lot of people in a lot of different cultures and stuff that physical affection, therefore like sensual attraction, like the desire to be physically close with someone, is like actually a very normal thing to happen in families. So yeah, just putting that out there. And again, this attraction can exist on its own or be paired with other attractions. And this is like almost always the case with attraction, is it can be paired. You can experience multiple at the same time towards a certain person or a certain thing. Or you can also just experience it on its own. As I was mentioning, sensual attraction is often associated with like romantic attraction or sexual attraction. So but it can also be, experienced with, say, platonic attraction. Now, the next attraction that we're going to get into is emotional attraction. This is being drawn, attracted to someone's personality, values, characteristics, traits, etc., and desiring to be emotionally present with someone or to have a deeper connection with someone. I know that was a bit of a wordy definition, but I'm just trying to get as much information within that definition as possible. So you could experience emotional attraction towards, say, an acquaintance that you want to get to know, you want to become friends with them, you want to better get to know them and become closer to them and hang out with them one-on-one. You can experience emotional attraction in that way. You can experience emotional attraction having deep and vulnerable conversation with a friend or a person where you feel seen and understood. Like a lot of emotional intimacy can occur within that. You could experience emotional attraction when you're kind of like platonically in love with a best friend. You just love how they see the world. You love their personality. You love how they express their emotions. You love their internal world, essentially. And you just want to hang around them all the time. And you just like really get along. That can be considered emotional attraction, those feelings of love that you have towards that person's internal self. I think again, we might associate emotional attraction to just simply like a platonic thing or simply just a romantic thing, but it's something that you can experience in both, and you're going to most often commonly find in both very healthy friendships and relationships. So yeah, because I have seen in many cases there are people that are in romantic relationships, but there's actually not much emotional intimacy, or there's not much emotional attraction within that relationship. And it could be like one-sided, where someone is more emotionally attracted to the other person to someone than the other person. And so yeah, it's absolutely true that in romantic relationships you might not always find emotional attraction, and same in certain more like surface level friendships where you might still like enjoy that person, you don't actually feel much emotional attraction towards them because perhaps you don't like resonate with their internal values and how they express themselves in the world. Like you could still enjoy them as a person, but you might not actually have a lot of things drawing you towards them. I think this is kind of reserved more for like the best friends and close loved ones that like you really connect to on a certain level. It's a very like soulful kind of attraction. And this, I just thought I would make note, is actually the type of attraction that demisexuals, which I'm going to get into another video, need in order to feel sexual attraction. So they need to feel emotional attraction and feel very emotionally close and emotionally bonded in order to even feel sexual attraction. And emotional attraction brings us to a very related attraction, which is platonic attraction, which is the desire to form a platonic relationship, aka a friendship, with a specific person. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because when I was like doing a lot of research way back, I was like, okay, what's like the difference between platonic and emotional attraction? Like that would seem kind of similar. Like it seems both quite platonic, but a very insightful person on Reddit, I will try to like link the screenshot or whatever or post, really helped me understand where the key differences lie between emotional and platonic attraction. Because it's like, don't you need to be emotionally attracted to all your friends in order to be platonically attracted to them? And I was kind of mentioning before that you might not feel emotional attraction to all your friends, at least your friends that you're not close to. And someone on Reddit asked, like, can you experience platonic attraction without emotional attraction? I believe that's what they asked. And someone responded to them where I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it was essentially like, well, think about like your family members, for instance. You might not be actually very emotionally close with many of your family members, but you do have a sense of love for them. And that love is like platonic love. It'd be like platonically attracted to them because you enjoy having them in your life, but they might not have, similar values to you and like a personality that you really appreciate and are attracted to. Or you might not have the ability to have a very deep emotional connection with someone, but you still platonically love them. You're still platonically attracted to them because there's some, positive thing about having them in your life and you appreciate them as a person. I think the main kind of difference between emotional and platonic attraction is that emotional attraction is just a lot more deeper and meaningful than just platonic attraction. Emotional attraction can be felt to people that you're more romantically involved with or just someone that you're platonically involved with. But platonic attraction, you can't be all as well like romantically attracted to someone. Although in like some cases there's actually alterous attraction where we're gonna get into that. Now, to continue on a bit more with platonic attraction, we have a few more confusing concepts to dive into, and that's that some people may still engage in romantic or sexual behavior, which was more like, it could be like more sensual behavior with someone that they only feel platonic about. And you can see this in things like QPRs, queer platonic relationships, which I'll have a video about QPRs, like entire separate video. Yeah, while emotional attraction is often present in both romantic and platonic relationships, platonic attraction is not experienced towards someone you are romantically interested. You can feel sexually attracted to someone you are platonically attracted to. So there is a lack of romantic attraction, but sexual attraction is still present. So like, friends with benefits kind of thing. But yeah, platonic doesn't always mean no sexual attraction. It does mean no romantic attraction, typically. So like platonic attraction or platonacy is like, you could describe it, it's like wanting to hang out with someone but not wanting to date them. And you could still, while hanging out with them, want to have sex with them or just have sex with them. That is possible. Okay, before we dig ourselves into a never-ending, complicated, messy hole, let's move on to romantic attraction. Now, romantic attraction, I feel like, is such a debated thing. Like, what even is romantic attraction? What even is romance? That is a whole thing in the ace and arrow community that I've had like countless discussions with people on Reddit. And I've even asked allosexuals in person, like, what is romance to you? What is romantic? So romantic is extremely subjective. I think everyone's experience is very different on what to them is romantic. So I just want you to keep that in mind before I really delve into the definition of romantic attraction and how people might feel that. But the most basic definition of romantic attraction is a desire to be romantically involved with a specific person. Now, what does romantically involved mean? Now, while we can't all seem to agree on a single definition of what it means to be romantic or be romantically attracted to someone, there is some common ground that I think many of us can agree on of what deems a romantic relationship or feeling. So typically when you are romantically attracted to someone, you might experience something like limerence, obsession, you might have butterflies when you're around them or when you think about them, you could be thinking about them all the time, you will just always want to be around them, you are reliving moments with them that you had and memories. receiving texts and messages from them makes you like unreasonably happy. Like I think that can all be pinned down to having romantic feelings for someone. Now, as someone on Reddit pointed out, I swear Reddit is not my only place where I research this stuff, but it's pretty handy. I love Reddit. As someone on Reddit pointed out, is that romantic attraction seems to be connected to a commitment. That's kind of what makes it different from other attractions. What does romantic even mean? Because, like, how does it differ from emotional closeness or sensual closeness, which can be experienced separately from romantic attraction? So, it's like, what makes romantic attraction? Well, all the things that I was listening before, like limerence and stuff, it also seems to be associated with commitment, of intertwining lives, of like doing everything together, wanting to do everything together, merging two people into one, you know, that soulmate kind of thing, feeling like each other's halves, and wanting to be like physically attached to people, like holding hands all the time, kissing each other, and being like together forever. And now I know that those things can also be experienced in like really close companionship that are platonic, so like best friends and stuff like that. So it's complicated because a lot of what romantic attraction has within it, or romantic relationships have, you can also find in other dynamics that are not romantic in the same way. So that's kind of where it gets tricky. Now, another thing that I've kind of noticed about romantic attraction is that it appears to be a mixture of attractions all in one. So it's like a mixture of aesthetic attraction, sensual, emotional, sexual. Yeah, it's often like a conflagration, is that the word? Of many attractions in one. But there's also like asexual people exist. And so you can have romantic feelings for someone, but then also not have sexual feelings for someone. So romantic attraction does not necessarily mean it's a mixture of like all those things, like sensual, aesthetic, emotional, and sexual. Like you can take some of those out. They don't all have to be included. So it's like not a hard and harsh rule. It's just something that I've noticed is that romantic attraction typically seems to be a mixture. And I think that's why we often think that, say, aesthetic attraction or sensual attraction, that's inherently romantic because it's so oftenly intertwined with it, but it can coexist outside of it, you know? Yeah, I think it really depends on people's individual definition of what romance means to them, because one thing could feel platonic to someone, but romantic to someone else, vice versa. And that goes for people that are not on the aro ace spectrum and for people that are. We are all different. We all experience different. So romance and romantic things and romantic attraction is going to be very different for all of us. It's just that there's some key components that we all seem to share and experience. Now we're actually going to get into Alterous attraction before we get into sexual attraction, just because we were talking about platonic and romantic attraction, and Alterous attraction is kind of a mix of those. What? So Alterous attraction is an attraction that is between romantic and platonic attraction. It doesn't feel quite platonic, and it doesn't feel quite romantic. It's not really restricted to one or the other, and it doesn't really fit into the box of platonic or romantic. It is possibly the most confusing attraction to understand, but also to feel. I know as someone who's experienced Alterous attraction, it is confusing as fuck, and you're like, what the hell? And this is often the attraction that is associated to queer platonic relationships. Now, queer platonic relationships are simply a committed, intimate relationship that is not necessarily romantic in nature, but the relationship falls in between romantic and platonic. And it just doesn't fit the box of just being friends with someone or just dating someone. It's kind of its own thing. So it is like a queer platonic relationship could be like it's more committed than your average friendship, or you have like very deeper feelings than you would than your average friendship, but it doesn't fit romantic dating because maybe it's not quite as committed as a romantic dating, or it's just kind of different. Like, it's so difficult to pinpoint queer platonic relationships and Alterous attraction because it's extremely subjective. Like every queer platonic relationship is very different, has its own different sets of rules and boundaries. It depends on how both like those individual people feel about each other or feel about things. So this is just me doing my best to try to kind of explain what queer platonic relationship could be, but this is not encapsulating everything that it is, and it doesn't mean that all queer platonic relationships have to fall under this kind of definition that I've created. And I find with alterous attraction that can be often be experienced within queer platonic dynamics, it's many aro and ace people experience this attraction more so than allosexuals. So allosexuals might not be aware that this attraction or emotion exists, or have never experienced themselves, but it is a type of attraction that many, but not all, aro and ace spectrum people may have experienced before. So it's nice putting a word to such a niche, I guess, experience. But alterous attraction, again, it can be kind of described as a mix of feeling platonic romantic feelings towards someone, or saying that, oh, I'm romantically attracted to you, or oh, I'm platonically attracted to you. None of those feels quite right, and it's something more in the middle. Because, you know, sexuality and attraction, everything in this goddamn world is a spectrum, and so alterous attraction is just more so like in the middle of that spectrum. If you have like romantic attraction over here and platonic over there, alterous attraction could be described as being like kind of like the midpoint, and then there being little variations within that depending on the person's experience. And again, other attractions can be present within alterous attraction as well. So there could be sexual attraction also involved with alterous attraction. There could be sensual attraction, like a lot of people in queer platonic relationships cuddle and stuff like that. Some of them have sex, and they have like emotional attraction and are aesthetically attracted to each other. So like all of those can be present. I'm just making note of, again, getting it really clear that just because there is like, it's like this weird platonic romance mixture, it doesn't mean that sexual attraction has to be there or doesn't have to be there. Sexual attraction can be present with alterous attraction. Alrighty, we're down to the last attraction, which is perhaps the most well-known attraction, and that is sexual attraction. The desire for sexual contact with a specific person, or being sexually drawn towards someone. You could feel aroused around this person, be like have physical magnetism towards them, that kind of thing. For if you're allosexual, you probably know what this feeling is like. So, like, here's some examples of experienced sexual attraction. So, your one night stand. This is someone that perhaps you may not want to necessarily date, or you're not emotionally close with, but you do find them really hot and like you're sexually attracted to them. And so you do the deed, you know? You could find a celebrity to be super sexy and see yourself having sex with them if given the chance, or even see yourself like dating them or whatever. But those other attractions don't necessarily need to be present. You could just be like, damn, they're really hot. I like that. I would bang that. I can't believe I've said that. I hate that. Bang? No. Yeah, sexual attraction you can experience where it's about someone that you're sexually fantasizing about and doing sexual things with them in your head. However, not to make things more complicated, but that's just how it is that a lot of ace people can actually sexually fantasize about someone that maybe they're attracted to in other ways, and they can like imagine their head having sex with them, and that's not like a disturbing thought. But then when it actually comes to being in front of them, then they're not sexually attracted. That's a very normal thing that happens, but often a lot of people that are sexually fantasizing about someone, they're typically already sexually attracted to that person. So yeah, I think I was mentioning before, but friends with benefits. So you can be sexually attracted to a friend, but with no romantic feelings. You can experience sexual attraction in that way. And as I was mentioning during sensual attraction, sexual attraction is often associated with sensual attraction. The feeling of being close with someone and being like physically intimate, like that's literally like one word that we describe like having a sexual dynamic with someone, is that you're being physically intimate. But You don't necessarily have to be sexually attracted to someone to be physically intimate, because there's many levels of physical intimacy, you know? But yeah, like sensual and sexual attraction are not interchangeable, nor do both exist simultaneously all the time, you know? They often can exist simultaneously, but they also can exist without each other. And yeah, one last thing is that you do not need sexual attraction to feel romantic attraction, vice versa. And I think that is something that is so ingrained into many of our minds, because that's simply how we have been societally conditioned. Yes, you don't need romantic attraction to feel sexual attraction all the time. That's does not the experience for everyone. And you don't need sexual attraction to feel romantic attraction all the time. It really depends on the situation and on the person. Attraction is not as simple as we thought it was. It never was. We just have words and definitions to describe the more nuanced experience of attraction. And isn't that great? Isn't that lovely? Thank God I was born in the era of the internet, where asexuality is like mostly accepted to be true. At least we kind of knew about it. At least we know that there are different types of attraction, so we don't have to live our entire life suppressed and confused. God bless. Anyways, those are all the types of attraction that I am getting into today. Congrats for getting through the video. I hope you learned something new. Please feel free to go back to parts of the video that you still feel unsure about. I will put like little timestamps for each attraction if you're wanting to go over a specific one again. Yeah, I really hope I did not make things more confusing for you, but I hope the takeaway from all this is that all of these attractions, these types of attractions, can be experienced by themselves or with a mix of these attractions. If you can take that away from this video, I will be very pleased. I will be very happy about at least educating you about that one factor. And yeah, attraction does not just encapsulate all types of attraction like we may have been led to believe. And it's important to specify different attractions, and it can make communication a lot clearer in relationships, for feelings not to be hurt and for you to feel heard. And it makes things make sense, especially for the aro ace community. I think these descriptions of types of attractions has been very helpful for me personally, and it's been very helpful for many aro ace spectrum people. Yeah, it just can make there be so much less tension and confusion within relationships, being able to have words to describe what it is you're feeling. So, yeah, human beings are complex, and so the way that we are drawn to and attracted to each other is also going to be complex. And yeah, as I mentioned, there's many more other more smaller, less known types of attractions out there, but I just for simplicity's sake and for the length of this video, I'm going to get into them in maybe another video. But yeah, there's many other types of attractions out there, some that we might not even know exist or we don't even have words for yet. Isn't that crazy? We we don't know everything. I hope you learned something from this. I hope my explanations were coherent, and I hope you had fun. And I hope you spread the message to others. Send this video to someone that you think would benefit from this, and keep having an open mind. Keep learning about things that are not in your experience, and so we can have a more inclusive and understanding world for everyone. Anyways, I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for being here. Bye!